The film begins with a chase scene between the American military and Syrian terrorists. During the chase, the terrorists manage to overturn an American military vehicle. Once the situation is under control, the terrorists plan to return to their base, but unexpectedly, they start getting killed one by one. It turns out that the American forces are not entirely defeated. Even more surprising is that all the terrorists are taken down by a lieutenant named Parker, a female military officer who infiltrates the elite forces thanks to her combat skills. After capturing the surviving terrorists, Parker and her partner, Spider, intend to take them to the camp for interrogation. However, one of the American soldiers loses control and wants to kill them, so Parker immediately stops him. In short, the mission is completed despite some issues. Without wasting time, Parker and Spider head to the airbase to return to America. On the way, Parker receives an important call from her friend, Jessie, who is a sheriff. After some brief chat, Jessie informs her that a landslide has just occurred in their hometown. Unfortunately, Parker's father, who worked in the mining area, was buried under the landslide and lost his life. Hearing this, Parker falls silent and can't hold back her tears. She then heads straight home once she reaches America. Upon arriving, Parker visits the police station to ask Jessie for an explanation. Unfortunately, Jessie does not understand the cause of the landslide, but at the scene, he found a letter written specifically for Parker. So far, Jessie concludes that Parker's father caused the landslide intentionally to move to the afterlife. However, Parker finds it hard to accept this fact, especially since her father was not the type to give up easily and do the unthinkable. Moreover, he seemed fine before he passed away. He even sent her a letter before her mission to Syria. With no other clues, Jessie is forced to close the investigation temporarily. Jessie then takes Parker home, which also functions as a bar. Being far from residential areas, the bar is almost always empty, and it seems Parker plans to sell it after her father's funeral. Once there, Parker looks at a photo of her father, who was once a member of the elite Mexican forces. With teary eyes, she prays for her late father in her heart. Not long after, in her solitude, Parker suddenly hears a car in front of the bar, and it turns out to be a mysterious man sneaking in. Without hesitation, she attacks the man. But upon seeing his face, Parker is shocked because the man is her old friend, Mickey. Apparently, since their teenage years, Mickey has helped Parker's father manage the bar and work in the stone quarry. Because of this, Parker immediately apologizes for her actions. Parker then asks Mickey about the landslide that killed her father, where she also asks to be taken to the incident site to investigate the suspicious death. Once at the mining site, they enter the cave built by her father. Since moving from Mexico, her father worked as a stone miner to support her. At that moment, Parker remembers how her father would take her to play in the cave while training her in martial arts. These memories break Parker's heart even more, especially when she sees her father's blood scattered on the landslide of soil and rocks. Parker then notices black stains on the rocks that look like grenade explosion marks. Because of this, she suspects that the landslide was not caused by a natural disaster, but rather a man-made one. After returning from the cave, Parker takes a grenade to test her suspicion. Together with Mickey, she looks for a large enough area to detonate the grenade. While walking, Parker reminisces about her late father, who built the bar to preserve her grandmother's traditional recipes. Therefore, the bar was named Maria's, taken from her grandmother's first name. Unfortunately, Parker couldn't continue running the bar because she had to work as a member of the elite forces. Sometime later, Parker finally finds a suitable area to test her suspicion. With one breath, she throws the grenade, and sure enough, the explosion produces black stains on the shattered rocks. However, Parker is puzzled about who could cruelly kill her father in such a manner. Mickey, not wanting his friend to be stressed, invites Parker to a bar in the city. According to him, she needs some entertainment to relieve her stress. Upon arriving at the place, Parker met a man named Elvis, who was Jessie's younger brother. However, Elvis was very annoying and liked to flirt with women. Fortunately, Parker was able to keep her emotions in check. When the night gets late, Parker and Mickey decide to go home. Outside the bar, they see a car and some suspicious people. Additionally, these people are carrying weapons in the back of their car. Curious, they both decide to follow them to their destination. Unexpectedly, they turn out to be a gang of robbers planning to loot money and goods from a hardware store. Seeing this, Mickey asks Parker not to get involved, especially since they have firearms. But as a good public servant, Parker bravely goes in alone, unarmed, and takes down all the robbers there. In a short time, Parker is able to defeat all the robbers and sees a watch that is familiar to her. It turns out the watch belongs to her uncle. Consequently, Parker immediately returns the item. Her uncle then thanks her and expresses his condolences for Parker's father's death. Additionally, her uncle also apologizes for not being able to do anything at the moment. The next day, Parker hears an explosion in the distance. It turns out the explosion came from an RPG fired by Elvis. Although America allows its citizens to own firearms, heavy weapons like RPGs are only permitted for military use, meaning Elvis either stole or smuggled the illegal weapon. To find evidence, Parker contacts Spider, who, besides being great in gunfights, also has extraordinary hacking skills. Not long after, Spider manages to gather a lot of information about Elvis, revealing that he has an illegal arms trade business on the dark web. It turned out Elvis has gone undetected all this time because he was protected by his father, who is a senator. So, it's no wonder that he always acts as he pleases. Hearing Spider's explanation, Parker immediately suspects that Elvis is involved in her father's death. Before Parker takes further action, Spider reminds her to be careful and not to do anything until there is solid evidence. The next day, Parker follows Spider's advice to look for other evidence and clues, where she tails Elvis and his henchmen to the nearest military base. It turns out that Elvis and his henchmen have access there thanks to the influence of his father and possibly their collaboration with corrupt soldiers stealing weapons from the military warehouse. After leaving there, Parker visits Mickey and his mother to gather more information about Elvis, especially since Mickey's mother is known for gossiping with the locals. Unfortunately, they both don't know anything about the arms trade. They only know that Elvis always breaks the rules and feels above the law due to his father's power as a senator. Not long after, Spider informs Parker that Elvis and his henchmen are about to make a transaction at his house, guarded by armed thugs. Cautiously, Parker sneaks in and witnesses the illegal transaction. It turns out that the buyer of Elvis's weapons is a leader of a mass organization that often causes chaos in America. That night, Parker invites Jessie to drink at her house while reminiscing about their high school days. At that time, Parker and Jessie were very close and almost dated, but after graduating, Parker decided to continue her education at the military academy, so they rarely met. Besides reminiscing, Jessie also mentions that Parker's father always cared about her. Unfortunately, Jessie couldn't repay his kindness since he is no longer around. In short, they fall asleep from drinking too much. In the middle of the night, Parker wakes up and takes this moment to steal the police station keys from Jessie. Parker then sneaks in to look for clues about her father's death. After gathering all the evidence in Jessie's office, Parker entered the autopsy room to see her father's body. At that moment, Parker sobbed uncontrollably because that night was the last time she would see her father. In her heart, she swore to avenge the person who killed her father. A few days after the funeral, Parker's condition slightly improves. One night, Parker is invited by Jessie to have dinner together. Besides her, Jessie's father, Ease, is also there, and as an incompetent politician, Ease acts arrogantly in front of Parker. He even indirectly makes racist remarks about Latinos, which make Parker feels very uncomfortable. Shortly after, Parker receives a call from Spider, saying that Elvis is at the mining site. Without wasting any time, she quickly leaves the dinner event. At the mining site, Parker deflates all of Elvis's tires. When entering the cave, she sees Elvis sitting on her late father's couch. Even worse, Elvis insults Latinos in front of his gang. Unable to accept those words, Parker goes berserk. Actually, she could easily kill him, but when she is about to strike, Parker sees her father's bar being set on fire by Elvis's henchmen. Consequently, Parker rushes to stop them. Although she manages to kill Elvis's henchmen, Parker cannot stop the flames that engulf the building, burning all her father's cherished belongings. Parker, who was furious, went after Elvis again and beat him mercilessly. Unfortunately, Jessie, who had just arrived, captured Parker and took her to the police station. It turns out that Jessie had been involved in Elvis's arms trade to fund his father's campaign. Shortly after, Spider sent a lawyer to get Parker out of jail. Since Parker had killed Elvis's henchmen, the lawyer needed another defense. Therefore, The lawyer went to the mining site to look for clues, but he was intercepted by Jesse, and since then, the lawyer's whereabouts have been unknown. The next day, Ease's family began torturing Parker in prison to find out if she had any evidence from the time of her father's death, because her father had installed CCTV at the mining site. At that moment, Ease and his two sons admitted they were the ones who killed Parker's father. They did so because Parker's father dared to obstruct their arms transactions. Because of this, Ease and his sons were afraid of being reported if Parker had CCTV evidence. In the end, Ease offered a deal, promising to reveal the circumstances of her father's death if Parker handed over all the CCTV evidence. Shockingly, Parker had already freed herself from the handcuffs and went berserk. Unfortunately, Parker couldn't kill the three of them because all the police there worked for Ease. Eventually, Parker decided to hijack Jesse's car and escape as far as possible. But along the way, her wounds became more painful, causing her to pass out. Meanwhile, Elvis and his henchmen raided Mickey's house looking for Parker. However, they couldn't find her, as Mickey and his mother had hidden Parker in the basement. After regaining consciousness, Parker explained that Elvis was the one who caused her father's death. No matter what, Parker vowed to kill him in the most painful way. Elsewhere, Jesse brought the body of Parker's lawyer, whom he had killed earlier. Together with Elvis, Jesse buried the body as if it were a dead cat. 3 days later, Parker finally recovered from her injuries and, without wasting any time, went to her contacts to ask for weapons and ammunition. Additionally, Parker asked her uncle for some sharp weapons. On the other hand, Ease and Jesse were seen panicking as the leader of the mass organization, who had bought weapons from Elvis, was demanding his order. However, Elvis still hadn't delivered the weapons. Because of this, the leader threatened to disrupt Ease's campaign if the goods weren't delivered soon. After the meeting, Ease and Jesse were busy handling their arms trade. Unbeknownst to them, Parker and Mickey were preparing to carry out their revenge mission. Once the situation was safe, Mickey stood guard outside while Parker infiltrated the place. At that moment, Parker saw one of Elvis's henchmen guarding the living room and, without hesitation, took him down. She then went upstairs to eliminate Ease. Before acting brutally, Parker again asked about her father's death. Ease then admits to Parker that he had lied to her. It was actually Jesse who killed her father, forced to shoot him because Parker's father had discovered the illegal transactions at the mining site. While dying, her father detonated a grenade to collapse the cave, but the rubble only buried him. Upon learning this, Parker immediately goes after Jesse and Elvis. She then bids farewell to Mickey and thanks him for all his help. Parker then starts observing the criminals from a distance using her sniper rifle. At the same time, Parker sees Spider arriving at the mining site. Unfortunately, Elvis's henchmen point their guns at him. Not wanting to stand by, Parker springs into action, but she cannot save Spider, who is captured by the enemies. To rescue him, Parker boldly enters the cave alone, where she sees Jesse and Elvis arguing with the leader of the mass organization. Additionally, their weapon-loaded car has just exploded, but they still do not know that Parker is behind it. As they prepare to take more weapons from the military base, Parker uses this moment to save Spider. After rescuing her partner, Parker leads Spider to scour the entire mining area to hunt down the criminals. But suddenly, an attack separates them on opposite sides of the cave. As Parker searches for Spider, she is attacked by the leader of the mass organization. Despite defeating him, Parker is ambushed by Elvis, who appears with a shotgun. During the fight, Elvis taunts Parker with highly racist insults, which enrages Parker. In no time, she is able to take down Elvis. Shortly after, Mickey, Parker's uncle, and others enter the cave to help Parker, but Parker had slaughtered everyone there on her own. Before looking for Jesse, Parker goes to the other side of the cave to rescue Spider from the rubble. Afterward, Parker explores a tunnel that connects directly to a military weapons depot, where Jesse is hiding there. Pretending to be weak and in need of medical help, Parker is allowed to enter deeper, claiming she was attacked by terrorist groups in the desert. As the soldiers prepare medical supplies, Parker hastily searches for Jesse, whom she believes is hiding in the depot. Upon spotting the corrupt cop, Parker immediately attacks him. In the middle of the fight, Jesse suddenly pulls the pin of a grenade he is holding and expresses his deep remorse for killing Parker's father, whom he considered like his own. It turned out, Jesse was forced to kill him due to pressure from his family. To atone for all his sins, Jesse decides to do the unthinkable. At that moment, Parker still wants to give her friend a chance, but his guilt is too overwhelming. After watching Jesse meet his end, Parker's emotions are in turmoil. On one hand, she feels relieved that her father's killer has received his comeuppance. On the other hand, Parker struggles to accept the fact that Jesse was the one who committed such a heinous act against her father. 1 month later, radio news reports that the entire Ease family has died tragically. Meanwhile, Parker rebuilds her bar and asks Mickey to take care of it. Afterward, Parker and Spider plan to return to the central military base to undertake their next mission. The film ends. Moral lesson from the story: if you're chasing terrorists, remember, it's all fun and games until someone loses their military vehicle. Also, don't trust the guy with the RPG. He's probably not here for a friendly chat.